Hey everybody, what's going on? We are hanging out. Wanted to do a quick video. I brought in a special guest today. I brought in Drew Hendon. So two parts, real quick before we get going. Drew actually just joined Kim Steele & Associates. I've known Drew for a while, but the big reason why I want to bring him on today is because if you read the article I posted up last night, it was about real estate investors and basically I buy houses, we buy in cash, all the stuff or we buy ugly houses, which is a franchise, and actually it's a fantastic franchise straight out of Dallas Fort Worth, Texas. But outside of that, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And the reason why I want to bring him in is Drew is an investor. He flips a ton of properties. He buys a lot of properties off market. I'm sitting here looking at the thing instead of looking up there. Last time I was doing that, I noticed I started putting a card. I felt so vain. I put a picture of myself up there so I would look at it, but then I was looking at me the whole time. Yeah. So Drew buys a lot of stuff off market and he renovates it to sell. So I wanted to bring him in as a special guest to sort of talk about this because the big reason why I wanted to talk about this video was yesterday we had an appointment with a client. Client comes over. Client's a hoarder. It just absolutely, the whole house is hoarded. It's an acre of land completely covered with stuff. And, as we're sitting there, we're like, look, and it's as is condition, this is what it could be worth. We could maybe bring in a crew because she has some money to clean the house and move this stuff out and, maybe renovate it to help it get it sold for more money. And so if you're an investor, listen to these numbers. And it's as is condition with some, minor cleanup. It was worth $550,000 and it's as is condition and it would sell in probably 2 months. If we do a renovation, a full-blown renovation, and structurally on the inside it's fantastic, but if we did a full-blown renovation, it's worth about $710,000. So it's a fantastic buy. But when we were talking about it, she says, honestly, I would like somebody just to come in here and just buy it. I don't want to deal with going through this stuff. I don't want to bring up the memories. I just, my goal is to sell this and move to Belize. And we started asking, well, you understand that if an investor buys it, they're not going to pay what you would get if it went on the market. Now, one of the things that people come up all the time is, well, is this a scam? And so I'm going to get to that in a second. The way real estate investors usually go and find their properties, like how do you find a lot of your properties?
Prospecting, a lot of networking, reaching out to other investors to see what type of properties they have, mostly buy and holds. We find a lot of people who may possibly get a good deal on a property and really want to turn around and purchase properties as they're coming in, but they don't necessarily have the time to actually flip that property that they're sitting on. Mm-hmm. So, they'll reach out to other investors to see if there's an opportunity for them to purchase. Even trolling the MLS, trying to find things that have been sitting for a long time.
Sitting out there, yeah.
Just sitting out there waiting for someone to come along. It's usually word of mouth. A lot of times, networking, people saying, hey, I have a property I've been sitting on, or hey, I have this property I live in, and it's not something I necessarily, need, or it's too big for me. It does need work. It may be aged to the 70s, things like that nature.
Yeah, I know for me, so as most of you know, I'm known, even though, I kind of run Kim Steele & Associates, I'm mostly known as an investor nationwide. And I used to, I started learning a lot of the wholesaling stuff. I would go out and actually find and hunt for these properties that were off market, whether it's through direct mail, and I should have pulled out, I had some marketing and I should have pulled it out, but it says I buy houses cash and it has a phone number, and that's where I got a majority of my deals is on direct mail, sometimes just straight cold calling, probates, things like that. So when these people are reaching out, the big question is it a scam? So I'd like to know your opinion, because I have my opinion. But do you think, as far as real estate investors trying to buy a property off market, is it a scam?
No, I don't think so at all.
I agree and disagree. So go on.
There could be different aspects of it. And I say it personally based on my experience. Mm-hmm. I've been out there and I've actually spoke to people and I've actually done door knocking. We drive into neighborhoods that may necessarily be, lower income type neighborhoods. They may be on the up and coming. There could be industrial areas that are actually building up around the area. And that's the way we look. We forecast to see what's actually coming into that area.
That's important.
Before we actually get out there. Now, as in terms of these big time nationwide companies that may possibly be out there throwing up signs saying we buy houses for cash, most of the time I'm sure that they'll come in with lowball offers because they know that they're going to maximize their profits.
So let's talk about that real quick. Okay. Lowball offers, because that's one of the big ones that I always hear. oh, you're going to hit me with a lowball offer. See, I don't like using the word lowball offer. I look at things from their present state. When I would go out and I would negotiate a deal to purchase a home off market in cash, this is what I'm bringing to the table. I'm going to purchase your home in cash. I'm going to take it in its as-is condition. There's no inspections, no contingencies. We're not paying any costs. I'm going to cover all costs. I'm covering all closing costs. There's no realtor involved, so we're saving a ton of money right there. And the big one, I'll close on the day of your choosing. So you want to close in 7 days, you want to close in 10 days, you want to close in 2 months. We did one where we closed, they wanted to sell or lease back for $0 for 6 months. Okay, at the right price, absolutely. I'll let you sell or lease back for $0. You can live there for 6 months, trash the place because it was already garbage. Absolutely. And then that allows them time to move on to the next place in their life, and they have money in their pocket in order to do it. Right? So to me, I never viewed it as a lowball offer. I viewed it as, I think some people think, whoa, you're taking advantage. Yeah? Okay. Listen. The person that's buying a property, a cash investor, they're not buying it so they can go broke. They're not buying it so they can buy it from you and go into foreclosure. They're buying it to make a profit. They're buying the house to make a profit. So whenever I hear, well, it's a lowball offer, I'm honest with everybody. We had a house in Oceanside. I think you remember that one. We did it with J&B.
Yes.
We did that. It's great property. We showed up this guy. He was 25 years in the police force. He was retiring, and he called us. He says, I know you're real estate agents, and I know you're cash investors. I want you to give me both numbers. So we looked at the house, and I says, look, man, in its as-is condition, and it was in pretty good condition, and it's as-is condition, $350,000. We can put it on the market. It'll be sold, honestly, in like 12 hours. He says, okay, well, how long will escrow take? I says, well, escrow is anywhere from 30 to 45 days. It just really depends on the buyer and what's going on. So he says, well, what would you give me as a cash offer? And I kind of backed up. I was caught off guard. I says, okay, $350,000, sold in maybe 6 to 12 hours, and it's as is. You don't have to do anything. And that's it. You said you were willing to take less. And I says, well, if I were to buy it as an investor, honestly, I would have to be around like 260, 270. And it's just math. And if you guys are curious, you can hit me up, either on my Facebook page or, I'm on Instagram everywhere. And you can ask me some of these questions, how I do the math, or maybe I'll do a video. But when I was looking at it, I says, look, I can't pay you I can't pay you $350. Even if I back off the cost, I still have to pay you less than that because I have to make a profit. And so I started asking why. Why would you prefer the investor deal? Because to me, that was the right deal for him, was to put it on the market and sell it. He says, well, I want to be gone in 10 days. I want to be paid in 10 days because my daughter and I want to get her out into, I think they were going to Arkansas or something like that. We're going to Arkansas. And I want to have her in school. I don't want to wait 30 to 45 days to get my money and then move out there because she'll miss the school year, and it's just going to be more of a pain in the butt. I want my money in 10 days. Can you get it to me in 10 days? I says, I can get it to you in 7. I get it to you in 7. Would that be good? He says, yes. So I ended up buying it for a great price. Ended up selling it for a great price. After renovation, we ended up selling it for $480,000, and it was we had multiple offers within 3 hours of it going on the market. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
But, when I talk about a lowball offer, to me it's not a lowball offer. We have to make a profit. So the reason why I disagree with you, when you talk about, you say, no, it's not a scam. I say, no, it's not a scam because I'm an investor, you're an investor. I bought plenty of properties off market. But I also say it could be a scam, and let me tell you why. There are a lot of people out there that don't know what they're doing. They listen to a podcast, and they're just throwing out offers, and they're buyer beware. They're trying to just lock up your property, control the interest, not saying lie to you. I think a lot of these guys, they don't even know that they're lying. They're just so uneducated. And you have to understand, most investors, not all investors, most investors, they're not licensed in any way. There's no requirements for them. There's no state laws or anything. I have a buddy of mine. He writes his purchase contracts on a piece of paper. It's just one piece of paper, and he handwrites it, writes in goofy stuff, and then has them sign it, but puts it into escrow. So there's no legal this is what you're supposed to do when you're buying something as an investor.
You see, there's a common misconception, though, with investors. A lot of people think when you're approaching them to actually purchase their home or make an offer on their home, they don't necessarily think there is any real estate side involved. But a lot of people don't realize is that we do have agents that are actually running solid comps in the area to find out what a fair price is to offer for that
Good
property.
investors.
Good investors.
Actually producing investors. I think that's the difference. So I'm glad you said it. A producing investor, an investor that actually is in the business and a true investor knows what they're doing. My concern is when it gets scammy is when it's somebody that just listened to a podcast and sent out a bunch of direct mail, and you're going to get rich, you're going to make a ton of money if you just send out stuff and people call you.
Correct.
That's where I think it becomes scammy, or it could become scammy, and somebody
It's
can
kind
get
of
really
like a telemarketing type ordeal. I mean, these people are blowing up people's phones just based off of whether or not they're listing homes for sale on Zillow or whatever the case may be. I mean, these people come in and they're making these calls based upon very limited knowledge that they have of the property, period.
Very limited knowledge. So this is what I would say, just like the lady that we met last night. If you're thinking about selling your house in cash, there are a lot of options and opportunities. And what I would say is you get with a good investor, you're going to get a pretty darn square deal. You're going to get a square deal for your property's present as is condition. And what it is people that are looking to sell to a cash investor, not always, but some of them have challenges, problems, things that need to be addressed. So let's go through them. Death in the family. Death in the family. Divorce. Hoarder situation. I bought one up the street where literally the ceiling was peeling back. The ceiling was peeling back with mold. I mean, it was rough. Hoarder situation, deferred maintenance. They're just, one of the big ones, the biggest thing that I've seen that creates a challenge where somebody sells for cash, age. They're just old. Well, age is a huge factor. I bought quite a few homes. We're in senior care facility. We don't want to deal with a real estate agent. Nobody wants to help us. I see it all the time. Yep. We get phone calls. We ended up specializing in the 55 plus. Kim Steele and Associates specializing in the 55 plus market because no real estate agents would help them, which is mind blowing. Or they would take advantage of them because they were older. And it's sickening to me, but it is what it is. Age. I think other factors that are out there as well sometimes. The thing is, there's always a need. Is it always a need? No. I had one guy call me up. He had 12 properties. He was a buy and hold investor. He was looking to do something else. He didn't need to sell. He just kind of figured, maybe if I can offload this to another investor that could benefit from it, because he made his money on cash flow. He made his money on appreciation, made his money on the depreciation of the property. I'll just bundle up the deal and settle off with somebody, and that was a great deal that I hooked up. So I think if you're going to sell, and I'm going to ask you because I want to get your input on this too.
Sure.
In my opinion, if somebody's going to sell their house in cash, I would first have a valuation done on your property. It's as is condition. I call it, be careful with real estate agents too. Mm-hmm. There aren't many real estate agents that understand. They say they understand investing, but they don't. Mm-hmm. But have somebody come over and kind of give you a roundabout number. So at least when you start sitting down and you start talking to investors, you have a general idea of what it could be worth, what it is worth, and then sit down in your heart and kind of figure out what you're willing to take. I would say after that, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find investors if you don't know where to look.
Correct.
Jump online. If you're listening to this and you're in this boat, jump online, Google Real Estate Investment Club, and then whatever your area you're in. So San Diego Real Estate Investment Club, Massachusetts Real Estate Investment Club, and you'll have a whole bunch of different real estate investment clubs that'll pop up, and reach out to them. Trust me, they will find you a quality cash buyer. Or you know what? I don't care where you're in the nation. Reach out to me. I will help you out. But how do you think somebody, if they're in that position, how should they find a quality real estate investor?
I definitely think that would be the best opportunity. Find out who locally around you is actually in the business. Reach out to them because they usually have connections. If they can't help you, they will find somebody that can help you.
That's what we're doing for the lady. We're going to bring her a guy a local real estate investor that's actually probably the wealthiest real estate investor and best producing, smartest real estate investor in San Diego.
Sweet.
He happens to live in this area.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, as Chris was saying too, you could also shoot me an email. Let me know. We could work together to find somebody who can help you in your local area. You can hit me up at hendoninvestments@gmail.com. That's HENDON investments@gmail.com. I'll work with Chris and we can line you up anywhere nationwide. Easy day, believe me. All it takes is a couple of phone calls and we can find anybody who can help you with anything.
Absolutely. So, to kind of button this up, is it a scam? It depends, in my opinion. Overall, it's not. You just have to understand, you know, what your variation or version of lowball is going to be different than the person that's going to look to purchase your home in cash. Most of the time, they're going to take your property, they're going to buy it in cash. They're going to take it in its as-is condition. They're going to take it with no contingencies, and they're going to pay all of the closing costs. And there's no real estate agent involved. So if you sit down and start doing the math, you're actually pocketing quite a bit of cash that you wouldn't have to fork out. And here's the thing: if you do want to list it with a real estate agent, if they're worth their salt, they'll take your listing and actually get it sold as well. But you have to, you know, well, I'm putting it on the market for $100,000. You're still going to be paying the fees. There's just no getting around that. And you're probably going to have multiple offers. But here's the tough one. This is what I would say in the market right now, especially in San Diego. If you have a house that really is an investor special, it needs a lot of love, right? Once it goes on the market, you're going to have a ton of people that are going to bid on it. The big trend that I'm seeing right now is people are overbidding on the property just to lock it up.
Correct.
To get invested interest in the property, and then they will spend the next month or two talking you down on your price to get it to where they really wanted to buy it anyways.
Correct.
And that kind of irritates the crap out of me.
I agree.
The real estate agent usually doesn't care, and because honestly, I don't think they know. I think most real estate agents just don't know, so they're on the ride too, and it stinks, man. So sometimes it's better just to start off with an investor. In my opinion, for certain homes, the home that we were talking about last night, what we'll probably end up doing, we're not charging a commission. We're not going to do anything. We're going to get her to a quality investor who will purchase it at a fair price, and we're going to tell her what the fair price is. And we kind of already told her last night. And then usually that investor is going to give us the listing of a turnkey home on the back end. But at the end of the day, even if he doesn't, at least we helped her out. We don't make any money off of it, but it's the right thing to do. In my opinion. So, you got anything that you want to say?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Just be smart. Definitely talk to the right people. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Understand that investment properties is a totally different world than what you're thinking about in the real estate life. And listing your property for sale as is, you know, a lot of people will come in and make these offers to you, but make sure that you're doing your homework. Talk to an agent. Find out what your home is worth. Make sure that you know exactly what your ARV is worth. If that home was renovated on your own prior to actually selling it, what it would cost to get those renovations to get your cost of your home at a peak price. Think about that. There's all different variations of ways that you can actually get your home to where it needs to be. You know, not just the answer of flipping the home to an investor, but
they can even renovate it themselves.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If we could actually, you know, here internally with Kim Steele and Associates, we'd be more than happy to sit down with anybody to talk about an investment opportunity. We could come in and actually help you with investors. We can get your property listed at peak price for a very small amount of money. So reach out to Chris if that's something you're interested in. You know, I'd love to be part of that conversation as well.
Yeah, right on. Well, appreciate you. If you have any questions, as always, hit me up at KSA Kris, Chris with a K. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can soon, I'll actually be on YouTube, and I'm going to be taking some of my content from my radio shows on ESPN. You know, I had Average Joe and my other one, KSA Insider. I'm going to be taking all this stuff, and I'm going to be putting it on a podcast as well. So that'll be coming out, and with the podcast, I'll be interviewing some really cool people nationwide, which is going to be fun. So thank you much. We appreciate it, and we'll see you all later.